everybody, welcome. And we are just about to go live with Tom, Dr. Tom. And Jen is with us, but maybe not with us in person. So we'll see if she pops in. Let me just send this to our email so everybody's got this. This is going to be a good one, I think. A lot of big stuff coming in. And by that, I mean, I spend time in meditation before this session and what I call tracking information and just being in the space. And some really big stuff is coming in. So it'll be fun to see what shows up with Tom. So I think that is good to go. I think we're good there. Let me just make sure that's in. Yep. Okay. So you guys should have your link in your email. And you can join on YouTube and comment in the comments. There's a chat, but if you comment in the comments, you get more more access to us. So hopefully you can do that. Okay, so that should be good. So let's see when Tom gets on. So many things going on these days. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. We were at the co-op, and Jen and I and our boys were not wearing masks, and she was, and we just started talking. She said, "How's it going?" And I kind of went off a bit because I was like, "Man, there's some stuff happening right now," and some big questions may be coming up for people, like, how do you really want to live? And so, so I think we're in times right now that requires a lot of deep inner work, It's very interesting times. And for those of us looking to help the world and shift the world and make things better, it seems like we can't really just fight or do things in the old ways. Like Albert Einstein said something about you can't solve a problem from the place of the problem. You have to be above that and looking at it from a bigger perspective, a different way. And we were listening to a guy, a really amazing guy. I encourage you to find him, Zach Bush, MD. And he had a really great interview on the Rich Roll podcast. Really highly recommend it. And I think there's a movement happening of a bunch of us that are, there's a thing that's happening where because of this big opportunity, this big obstacle, this big challenge of what's going on in the world right now, there's a whole group of people, a lot of us, I think you guys are part of this if you're here, that are seeing this as like, this is our chance, our opportunity, our training to really rise above and be what we're destined to be. And so that's where we're going today, I think. We'll see what Tom has to say. He'll be on in a little bit. And it's where I've been going. So if you want more of that, I'll give you some information at the end of the show today. It'll be about 30 minutes, 45 minutes or so. And you can interact more with us on this because I'm finding some really cool stuff of ways to look at this whole thing from a different perspective. And I'm finding a simpler way to access spirit or the infinite or God or whatever that is. And it's been really powerful for tangible results in the physical world for us, for my family, for my clients. And it's getting more and more simple. And so, so I'll be sharing some of that. I've been sharing with my one-on-one clients, and we're going to share it more and more in our groups and with everybody. So, so look for that. But we're going to ask Tom what he's been up to. So hopefully he'll be on in a little bit. Let me just check the email. Let me know in the comments what you think is going on, what you're up to, and what you would like to see change in the world, and what some of your fears are, and what some of your desires and hopes and dreams, and what do you think about the masks and the lockdown and the social distancing and all that kind of stuff? Where are you with everything, and what do you think is really going on? Let's see if Tom. I don't see Tom emailing, so I think he's just running a little behind, which is okay. And we will be with him shortly. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Just leave a comment in the comments. What you would like to see, what you want to ask me or Tom. I can start to tell you a little bit about what I found while we get on. So, as a lot of you know, I've been using a process that's a really ancient technique or process. It's what Buddha used, but it's a way to go deep inside and to notice what is in us that's that the real thing is really all about, like what this the problems are really about, what the frustrations, what's the challenges, what it's really about, and then sit with it and watch it clear, watch it burn itself out, watch it do what it does, be experienced. And it's kind of like when our little boy Baden was born. He came out and he just started crying and crying and crying. And we could tell that he was telling us the whole story of what happened. Like, oh my God, this happened, and then this happened. I was right here, and then this happened. He was crying and crying and crying. And of course, he didn't have words, but you could tell he was telling us his story. And finally, the story was totally told, and he just relaxed, and then he latched on, and then he just fell asleep, I think. But he was totally okay. And so, what's going on? For us, one of the things that we found over the last few years is that whatever that is in us that gets activated when we have a challenge, when somebody pushes our buttons, when something happens, there's something that happens. And it's kind of like a birth or a death. There's like a transformation. And then when you get to the other side, whether you're coming into this world or you're leaving this world, it's like there's like, oh my God, you won't believe what happened, and then this, and then this, and then I felt this, and it was crazy. And it's like our being can be felt like thought of as telling the story of like, this happened, that happened, and I felt this, and I felt that, and felt this. And the cool thing is there's a way to go just be with that story and to let it be told and to experience it fully and just to wait till it's like all done being expressed. And then when it's done, it doesn't have to be told anymore. And so the challenge or the button or the thing that's causing the problem then was the activator, was the window, was the way to reach that deep stuff in us that's been compressed and tightened down and hidden from view and held down, and lots of energy being held to not feel this terrible, terrible pain and this terrible story, this thing that just feels awful. And so when it's totally expressed, then you're free and it doesn't have to be told anymore, and it's done. And so these obstacles then become, the challenges then become the way to clear whatever was already in us. So if something pushes our buttons, it's like the sign that, oh my God, there's where the gold is. And so we've been using a technique to go there and to really clear it. And it works so much better if somebody's helping you, because it's easy to not go there. It's easy to try to say, well, it's this, or I'll do this technique to it, or I'll try to just relax, or I'll take some lavender, or, I think CBD works for this, or, I'll do a yoga thing, or I'm going to just go run, or I'm going to take a nap. And so to kind of get away from it. And so instead there's a way to go right into it. And that's what a lot of our work is going to. But there's something that we found more recently that's even more amazing, and even more direct, and a direct key to unlocking happiness. and peace and acceptance. And Zach Bush, when he was a ICU doctor, he was talking about that he brought people back to life. They didn't have a great track record with that. He says it's like 6% of the people they actually bring back. So he says not like on TV, but he was talking about it, and he says over and over again people would be brought back to life, and they'd say, "Why did you bring me back?" And he says what they talked about was how they just felt so accepted. And I've had other people that I've interviewed that have had near-death experiences, and they talk about they instantly knew everything and were everything. And it was so different than anything you could imagine. And yet some of them came back. And so what Zach Bush said was interesting. He said he thought pretty much everybody is just so lonely and doesn't feel accepted. And so that could be an amazing doorway of exploration to go find out what is in you that's in the way of your abundance and your health and your happiness and your peace. And then the part that we found that's even beyond that is a way to be with what's here right now. It's kind of a little cryptic right now to say it, because it really takes a process to get to this next section. And that's where we're going right now. Sharon Giammatteo, Tom's wife, the late Sharon Giammatteo, used to say that by the time he even singled me out in class once, by the time I get to where they are, they're not going to be there. They're going to be farther down the road. And her job, she felt, was to help people get healthy enough to get on their own surfboard, to take their own wave. And that's what I feel our job is as his healers. And so that's some of the directions we're going. So hopefully we'll get Tom on. This might be the shortest version ever, but let's see if anybody wants to put a comment in the comments. That's going to be great. But if you can't, for some reason, that's okay too. Let me just check my my email and just see if he's having trouble logging on. Nope, I don't see an issue. So I'll go ahead and share the thing I was going to share at the end while we wait for Tom. You can go to ralphhavens.com / there's a couple things I'll just give you. ralphhavens.com / free miracle session. ralphhavens.com / free miracle session. What that is a way to get a free group session with me, where we'll use these techniques to help you uncover what you're protecting and what's in the way of your health and your happiness and your abundance on all levels. And we've been doing it since 2014 every month. And so you can get the first session free. And the next one is ralphhavens.com / end anxiety forever. And that will take you to the framework that I'm using these days. So let me get Tom. I just saw him come on. Here he comes. Has to unmute.
Hi, Ralph.
Hey, Tom. Good to see you, man.
How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, really good. Really good. I was talking to everybody before we got on, and we've had some amazing times recently. And so we watched a podcast with a guy, Rich Roll podcast, and it was a Dr. Zach Bush. You probably know him, an MD.
Yeah.
He has some amazing ways to describe stuff. It's just amazing. Jen calls it delicious.
Yeah, he's got some really good education for people to appreciate and understand things.
It does. And I thought, the way he talks about people that come back from the other side, when he used to resuscitate them in the ICUs, and they would say, "Why did you bring me back? Because it was so good over there." And he said, one of the things he said in this podcast was that he just thinks everybody's just so lonely, and over there they feel accepted, on the other side. And so we've been playing with a lot of how to clear whatever's in us that's activated when we see some of the stuff that's in the world right now. All these rules that are being put in place to social distance and mask up and and we're never going back to normal, and we got to protect ourselves from little bugs and all sorts of stuff. And so we've got some stuff that was activated, but we're also playing with a deeper way to play with to be in the space of the infinite. And so what I thought this morning as I was kind of thinking about today's session with you was you and Sharon. I remember one time in St. Helena, Sharon singled me out of a class of like 60 people and said, when Ralph gets to where we are, we're not going to be here. We're going to be farther down the road. And your thing was always like getting people healthy enough so they can get on their own surfboard and take their own wave. And
Yep.
and the thing is, you guys are always going to the next level of stuff, and your work has continued to go to the place of like it's way beyond just getting fixed up physically or even mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's like there's something that I think you and I and people on this road and probably watching this thing searching for. And so I thought, you're always looking for faster, better, quicker, more profound ways to help people. And I thought, maybe some of what you found along your path and what you think you're looking for and what you think people are really looking for, and just anything that comes up around you and your process, because you've been in medical schools like your whole life. You've been like 3 medical schools. So yeah. Any thoughts about where you're at, where you're going, what you think?
I appreciate that. And one of the things I was thinking, Ralph, is when you decide, are we ever going to get back to normal? I'd like to make the statement, it's our opportunity to change into something better. Right? And were we ever happy with the normal that we had before? Right.
Wow.
Apparently, we've had a few problems with that that are erupting now. Right. Social injustices, everything from everybody feels victim and victimized from one person to another type of process. And what I've been writing about is that golden heart energy and how we're going to move into concepts of humanity and kindness. And the thinking world, the survival world of me and them and us has to be really brought down, right? And there's going to be some conflict in that to try to see how many people are just thinking about stuff and not feeling about stuff. And I know you bring it up in your classes also, but when we get in contact with our feelings, we have a better opportunity to get it right, or more feel in control. Right?
I think that's so true. I think you're really nailing it, that if you really were to like look a month ago, a year ago, a few years ago, how many of us were really happy with that normal? There's something that's happening with these big challenges, and yeah, just a big opportunity.
Yeah. So it's an opportunity to definitely change and to see authority. And it's interesting because I get to participate in a lot of, and you do too, a little bit, in helping other people feel better about themselves. But I'm always going to go back to what I found really interesting was that the word physician just means teacher. Right? Yeah. And so and medicine today wants to fix it or stop it. And there's a really big paradoxical dichotomy between those two statements along the way. Right?
Yeah, and that seems to be the thing. Like I was talking to actually a naturopath outside of our co-op, and she was coming out of the co-op with a mask on, and I was sitting there without a mask waiting for Jen to come out, because Ben and I were out by the truck, and Jen and Baden were in there without masks, and she said, "How's it going?" And I kind of like erupted. I was like, "It's freaking crazy, man. It's like, what are you doing with a mask on?" And it's just like, I know she believes we're not supposed to be isolated from the bugs and nature, and we're supposed to be living in a place of like where we're working with nature. But yet there it was, because she thought that, well, you know what, these rules, and we've got to get out of phase 1 to get into phase 2. And I thought, phase 4, the way to get out of things in a phase 4 is to get a vaccine. It's like already written down. And so it's like, I think we're at this place where we can start to like go into this challenge. And like you said, there's some big opportunity there, and we might as well do it now before we're backed into a corner of it's either get a vaccine or don't go in and get your food. So yeah, how do you feel this opportunity is showing up for you, and how you're using it, or what you can offer people that to turn this big challenge into this a way to have the next normal be better than normal?
I want to share a little bit of a gift that I found is that I went on Amazon.com and just bought a little lanyard with 2 clips on it, and I could wear my mask on my stomach or on my chest. And if I have to run into the grocery store, yeah, I can put it back up here, right, for show and tell. But most of the time, I'm just really comfortable, and it seems to put a lot of people at ease. Instead of, we have people transitioning. So if you got your mask, you're showing it.
So is it useful then to help people feel at ease while they're wearing their mask, or is it useful to maybe get them a little bit uncomfortable, and like where's the line to like, what do you think?
Well, I feel that your neighborhood's a little different than my neighborhood. You have a little bit, it seems like when we've talked that your community is a little bit more progressive in their nutrition and eating whole foods, good foods most of the time. Here in Connecticut, we've had protesting where the police start the meeting with, okay, I want to be on your side, and they've marched with them a few times.
Wow.
And knelt and prayed. And we haven't had super violence anywhere. We've had a few water bottles thrown, and not much more than that. And then New York City, they're breaking into stores and destroying stuff. So I found that even walking through I live in an apartment building, and walking and showing that I'm willing to participate, but not possibly participate with all the rules, has calmed a lot of people down, right? So do you want to, I feel that, well, there's 3 things that are happening. We've been isolated since mid-March, and now we're moving into June. So we had March and April, May. So we're now at 10 weeks of this. And that quietness of the outside world has really made us self-reflect, even though we're staying home. So a lot of energies are coming up. And if people are getting upset with the little things, like good morning upsets you, or somebody's driving slow on the road, if you're feeling angry, it may not be an external anger, and a lot of people aren't ready to hear that piece. So I just felt this is a little trick of saying, okay, I'm here, I'm working on it, and I forgot to put my mask on is another way to semi-support that piece until everything changes. And President Trump got in yesterday, the day before, said, I'm going to put the military out on this. Isn't the right action. And the governor here said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to meet the people and try to say, okay, I recognize you're angry, and try to connect with it. And then, the rules are the rules. And a lot of people have come up to me and said, do you believe this rule? Do you believe that rule? And they're just upset with the freedoms. But I think we could if it's almost like in the movie Matrix, when he just moved away from the bullet and it just went by him instead of into him, type of thing.
Oh yeah.
I feel that we have to really be careful to see, which side our bread is buttered on once in a while too, on that piece. So I just, again, keep it here, and it seems like it's brought down the tone that I'm here supporting and not supporting at the same time.
Yeah, if you're fighting, it's hard to listen and hear. And so what I experienced that a bit in myself when my friend showed up and she asked me, I was just going to walk up and say hi. And then she asked me how it was going and I just exploded. And I was like
Yeah.
telling her this and that and this and that. And what are you doing? Take off your mask. And then, so I was like activated. I thought I was all calm. I mean, I was doing my Qigong and my peace process outside. And then it was like instantly there. And then I was sitting there and the parking lot is like 3/4 empty because that's how the parking lot is these days at the co-op. And a woman was like over on the other little section and she said, you're in the way of people parking. And I'm like, I said, there seems to be a lot of parking spots. And then she went off and I'm like, oh my God, she's just so, and I thought, so I was activated, she was
Yeah.
activated. And so, yeah, maybe there's a way to like be a bit more calm and meet them somewhere in the middle. What do you find, what are you using these days that, or what do you recommend for people to use this time as an opportunity to shift so that that old way of living, it comes into a new way of living through this process? Like, what do you think is your process or mechanism or what you see as something to do?
Well, I have some other bad news for us, right? Is that we're moving into the summer. It's now June. And we're on a summer solstice is coming on the 20th, where we're shifting out of summer already. It feels like we didn't get any summer. And I think it's June 14th or 15th, Mercury goes into retrograde again. And this week, it seems like our full moon is on June 5th. And what I've been finding is the full moons have been reflections of ourselves. When we get a full moon, it's like our soul is looking into a mirror, and we don't like to see the ugly things in there. Mm. So these next 2 or 3 weeks, I think we're going to get a little more violent, a little more agitated, and just to have that awareness that that's a possibility. And we got to be able to accept here's a little line. You got to be able to accept your darkness and understand where it's coming from in order to change it.
Yeah, that's so valuable. And not to try to run away from it or suppress it, but to just sit with it.
Right. And I call it, and a lot of the clinicians and I are saying, the gerbils are getting activated in the mind. They're just like spinning and running and jump from one fear to the next fear. Do I have enough money this week? Or is there enough food? What about the toilet paper? Now we got the riots. Now we got this. And everybody just seems to be not being able to keep a consistent thought for more than 30 to 40 seconds. And then they jump to another opportunity. And I feel that the way we've been presented in the media, that happens, and how we're jumping around and sort of in a good sense, the world is keeping us off balance a little bit. But to understand, okay, why can't I focus, or what pain am I not jumping into or feeling when I go over here and pick this topic at the same time?
Yeah, and I forgot who was saying it. Was saying that it might have been Zach Bush, was saying that suicide calls to the suicide hotline are up 600% and increasing anxiety meds and depression meds right now. What would you say to, because I know people and their kids are not doing very well at all. And
Yep.
Like lots of acting out and lots of like things that seem like so unreasonable of how they're acting out and getting violent with their siblings and just not doing well. And when I think about it, I think, well, if a year ago or even 6 months ago, somebody would have taken a child, a little kid, and put him in another home, say, some relative's home or something, and here's where you're going to spend your time now. And that was a relative that was really mentally ill, and she had to like mask up and she had to wear gloves and she couldn't touch anybody and she couldn't go to school and she could barely go outside. That would be enough to drive a little girl or boy to a really dark place really fast. Yet that's what we're doing with all of the kids. and people are acting so reasonable. Like I have parents reaching out to me that are saying, how do I help my child? You know, can you fix this? Can you fix this? And they're trying to make it kind of like, how can you make it so that she can live in this place with this crazy aunt? And it's like, she doesn't need to live with this crazy aunt. We need to get her out of this crazy aunt's house. So it's like, you know, as we go through this transition and then hopefully shift a lot of stuff in us and what's going on so that we can live in a whole, use this as a big opportunity in the moment for families that are really having some really hard times with their kids because of these things that they're imposing on them as if it's normal. What would you, how would you, somebody shows up like that at your door and says, hey man, can you help my little kid? They're having a really hard time. What's the, what do you think? You know, because they're like busy, they're at work, they're like trying to make things happen and yet their kids are home all day and when they go out, they got to wear masks and it's like, it's just insane.
Yeah. It's a really hard position to be in, and I'm just saying, how do we get centered? How do we be quiet inside ourselves, right? How do we, because again, as the environment gets even more crazy, and the astrology gets a little bit more stirring up inside, how do we find a place of comfort in ourselves is the big piece, right? So my homework always is taking my heart to my limbic system like this and doing a 5-minute meditation like this every day.
So bridge of the nose to the heart and forehead.
Yeah. And if you're finding you're angry, you can take the heart to the liver a little bit, and that will help you recognize or release anger at the same time.
Yeah, I do a lot of that homework every night. I put my hands on the heart and somewhere.
Yeah.
Pelvis these days.
Eat clean food. Don't try to lay off the sugar, try to lay off the gluten a lot, because those make people crazy. And you know, my four favorite foods to avoid are gluten and oats, white sugar, peanuts and almonds. And I just feel that you may crave those because in the current sense, they're very numbing. They'll numb you up, so you don't really have a awareness of your body. So I had a client this morning, and I haven't seen him since the lockdown, and mother and her daughter, and we were fitting her for orthotics. And she tells me a story, you know, I finally get my husband, we did a little allergy test and we showed him positive for gluten. So he went off the beer and he went off the bread. He lost 35 pounds.
That's awesome.
And she's mad at him because he could lose the weight so fast on that piece at the same time. But those are, I mean, you're craving comfort and there's nobody comforting out there. Try to limit your news to maybe 20 minutes, 20 minutes during the day. Just find out, okay, what's the weather and, what are the current factors I need to know. And, this client this morning said, if my daughter has to get vaccinated or wear a mask, I'm going to homeschool her. At the time. So, I think the other piece that I found useful, Ralph, is to take a meditative walk and hold your forearms, like putting your hands on your wrists like this and trying to walk. And it really gets us in contact with our beliefs and our philosophies. And it's sometimes difficult. It's difficult to walk that way.
Yeah, it's really it's really a cool technique. I use it ever since Michelle with you guys talked about using it in a demo once, and I used it ever since then. When somebody can't bend all the way forward, and then you think, I think this is something besides physical, and you have them hold their forearms, and then they bend all the way forward. It's like there was some beliefs that were in the way of even a physical improvement. So yeah, that one hand here, one hand there homework is so powerful, hard to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
the bridge of the nose. So important. I wonder, you have so many what are called templates and blueprints where people can put all sorts of hands on all sorts of things. And if somebody's a practitioner, they can do it with a lot more intention and expertise. Is there any other thing, and you guys you have so much techniques of like mentally going back in time and seeing where something is and then rewriting the script so that it's like, your body reacts differently these days. What have you found as like a thing that, so being outside in nature feels good, doing the walks with the forearms. Anything else for families and kids and going through hard times, trying to like follow the rules as they can, but concerned about their future?
Right. I wanted to send, I'm pulling it up right now. I have a system, and we call it the blue-eyed therapy because everybody gets blue-eyed, and the cell phones project a blue color into people's bodies, which changes their behaviors a lot. So I was going to pull up that last system for us and send it over to you for homework. So give me 1 second, I'll read it off to you.
Is it coming over the email or in the chat?
I'll put it in the chat if
Okay.
we can.
Yeah. I'll put it in the YouTube.
Yeah. So this is another way to just, I mean, if you're on your phone for more than an hour, you probably have this syndrome is something. If you're on Instagram and Facebook on your computer, it can literally drive you crazy that much. So.
And that might be a thing to do. Jen and I are taking a big break from Facebook. I'm only using it I'm going to cut back more and more and more, but yeah, we've cut way back on that because we found it just was getting us so activated. If it seems like a place to fight, not a place to like solve anything.
So I'm going to put this in the chat room. Let's see here, chat, there you go.
Here we go.
There you go. So it's putting your hands on your eyes and then taking it to the back of your neck.
Eyes and back.
And then your lower throat. And then to the right side of your nose, your left cheekbone, and your upper left by your ear, and then your heart. And if you did 10 minutes on each of those and just cycle through them, you'd find that your anxiety would go down. Okay,
that's awesome. I'm going to put that's in the YouTube, comments right now. Left upper neck, below ear, and then the heart. Okay. Comment, there it is. So yeah, and as simple as that sounds, putting one hand on the eyes and then putting the other hand on the back of the skull, the lower throat, the right side of the nose, the left cheekbone, the upper neck, below the ear, and the heart. That seems like, what is that doing? If you do it, it'd be really cool to test your physical body, like walk around, test your neck motion, see how you feel, and then do that. And even if you don't get through the whole thing, do it each time. But if you can get through the whole thing through one movie or something, you'll see a difference in your physical body, and then you can notice the difference in the anxiety. It's a really profound way to do stuff. So
yeah. For the mind-body connection, Ralph, I mean, we try to make it simple so people don't overthink it.
Yeah.
But the eye is about hypervigilance. You know, when you squint your eyes down, you start to get more angry with that. The back of the skull is about balance and my control. The lower throat is about am I talking my truth? The right side of my nose is it smells like it doesn't smell right. You know, people say that doesn't smell, you know, when they hear a story that doesn't smell right.
Yeah.
We in all our senses that way. And the cheekbone is about how have we mastered our facial expressions. And the left ear is am I hearing the truth, or is it paradoxical? And the heart is about honesty and truth also.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, so some big reasons to go through this little routine. You can do it at night watching a video. You can then do it as you go to bed at night. 10 minutes for each spot. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's less than the 20 minutes we used to say. So that's neat to know that even 10 minutes.
Yeah. 20 or 30 minutes would even be better, but at least hook them up and repeat the pattern is easier to do too sometimes.
Yeah, and if you have two parents and a kid, let's see, eyes, 1, 2, 3. You could get almost all those spots. In fact, you could
Yep.
get all those spots with you could, because it's like the cheekbone can go with the neck and ear also.
Yep.
And so you could, with two parents and one child, and watching a TV show for an hour with them propped up on a little massage table, that could help a little child.
It can. And then other products are like Rescue Remedy by Bach. Any essential oils that do calming.
Lavender.
Lavender are also very useful, you know. And
What do you think of CBD?
I was brought that question up again, and I feel that CBD is a very useful tool. I think it's depending, you know, they just opened up Massachusetts for THS, which is the marijuana component of it, where you can go to dispensaries and buy it in public. And so a lot of clients have gone over the border and bought things, and a lot of CBD oils. Probably 1 out of 20 people really works good for. And the other ones, it isn't the right fit. And but some people are really finding it calms them down. Some find it that it relaxes their pain. And it's mildly expensive, like a small bottle is $100 for that piece. And but truthfully, being the herbalist that I have been, when I'm looking at the inflammatory processes and relaxation processes, you could use some of the other herbs just as efficiently and effectively as the CBD. But I think it's the freedom of market that it's a Wild West outfit out there. And personally, if we move into the marijuana pieces, I feel that in the last year or two, I don't participate. I have many family friends that have, and we've studied it a lot. But I've noticed that it doesn't feel and smell, just the off-gassing of these people, and when they're smoking it, it's almost poisonous. The way they're genetically modifying it and amping up the medicines, it's getting aggressive. You know,
and I've also noticed when I motility test, it doesn't test very well. When I've done that in the past to kind of check it for people, and then there's that component of like instead of just kind of like using these even natural things to suppress and get away from the pain of it all, I think instead doing some of your techniques that release it,
yeah.
And taking a walk to clear the beliefs around it, and being in nature could be a better doorway maybe to like actually transcend it, use it as a doorway to transformation, instead of just like, what can I use to, like, even a natural thing to just suppress it some.
Yeah. So if you do read more research, the popular mechanics of it are saying that CBD oil is a new system. They call it the carotenoid neuroendocrine system. And again, if you really know your plants like turmeric, ginger, ginseng, melatonin, I feel that those effects can be just as equal as what the CBD pieces are. But people are trying to create something because they can corner a market in it and use those pieces. So if you want to try it, go for it. And if you know, maybe 3 or 4 brands, but I haven't found. I've gone to the cannabis conventions in New York City and Boston, where there's 1,000 people presenting and manufacturers, and really haven't come And I've also spent a couple $1,000s on buying some products to test them in the office. I haven't found the it. And watching the nutritional companies I use, they've had a long time finding the ones that they're sponsoring, and it's still, you know, it's a shoot out there. And I think, you know, it's a taxable market for the government to go into. People are using marijuana for a long time, and the CBD can help. It's worth a try, but if it doesn't help, try another brand. And if that doesn't help, it's probably not going to work for you.
Yeah,
But,
I know we're getting close to the end. There's somebody from the Netherlands, Sanjita, who asked a question I think is pretty important. Like, how can we cope with depression of loved ones because of being locked down for months, and with their loneliness since they don't want any contact? And so my thinking is, you got to work on yourself, even though they're in so much pain, yet you can't reach out for contact. And I want to make sure people have that link, because there's a way to message me and I'll get you more information of what we use to be one with it, and then let it run itself out, this pain of this stuff, so that you can, as you change, they have a chance to change just because you're shifting you. So I'll just give you that a link, and you can find me and then email me, ralphhavens.com/end anxiety forever, and you'll get some a framework, and also then you can have my email and email me. Tom, what do you think? Like, you got family members that are so in fear. There's people who have family members so in fear, and so they don't want contact, but yet they're so lonely and depressed. And then the person that's caring for them is like, how can we cope with that depression of loved ones, but they don't want to have contact? It's like, it's,
yeah.
Plus, I don't know, it's a weird one to end with, but it's like, that's a big one.
Start with phone calls, and say, I love you would be a big step. And I've had a few clients that, you know, they've like, okay, I want to come see you. I want to come see you. And then, you know, we got to deactivate them a little bit. So doing the handwork, that if they could just sit there and try to do the tools that we had. I had somebody that was very fearful of her whole family unit getting sick and herself getting sick. You know, we did a Zoom session on her, and I walked her through things, and she got deactivated enough to say this is a possibility later.
That's awesome. And they could even say, I love you to themselves silently for the other throughout the day.
And if you just picture giving yourself a hug or giving a tree a hug with them, and you're pretending that tree is, that's going to help shift things too. Cool. Ground.
Yeah. So, and if you want to talk to Tom, info at IMT, that's
Wellness.
IMTwellnesscenter.com. Yeah. And that's his website, IMTwellnesscenter.com. He does a lot of stuff over Zoom for wellness and helping people. And then he'll talk to you. So, info at IMTwellnesscenter.com. And then reach out to me, ralphhavens.com. And we will, we're here, and we're all in this together.
Yep. And it's definitely a different world this week, and try the things that we talked about today, and just be safe out there. And it's going to get a little crazier before it gets a little better.
Yeah. So time to like go inside, take a walk outside, hang out there in your body, try this one. Use it. And thank you, Tom. Wild ride, man.
Talk to you next week, okay?
Next week. Good to see you, man. All right, you guys. So, yeah, great time with Tom. And reach out to us. Tom is at info at IMTwellnesscenter.com. I've studied with him since 2000, well over 110 classes in that method alone, and still study and work with him and talk with him regularly. And then you can get my framework for ending anxiety, and it has a lot of these techniques to like clearly go inside and shift you so that your world can be better. And that's ralphhavens.com/end anxiety forever. So reach out to us, and we will see you all next week. All right, you guys, let's get out there and live. Let's really live.